I, female, 27, have been married to my husband Jay, male, 24, for 1 year. The relationship is almost perfect with one exception. Jay's relationship with his mother, Kay, female, 50, is really weird. Imagine a typical mama's boy and amplify it by 100. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or because he was raised without a dad, but he's always been obnoxiously close with his mom. I mean, I don't want to play into the whole mother-in-law, daughter-in-law rivalry, but it is a little bit of a thing in our relationship. A hardline stance that Jay took when we moved in together was that his mom would come with him too, as this was just a part of how things work in his culture. Another curveball here is that I have two twins, A and B, male, female, 3, from a one-night stand a few years ago. We were both extremely drunk and I hardly knew what he looked like. I had no way of contacting the father, and the choice to raise my kids is my own. I don't think the dad owes them anything. Mother-in-law thinks that it's unfair for her son at such a young age to take care of my kids, but I feel like it's a choice he made when he decided to get into a relationship with me. Honestly, he's put in a lot of effort with the kids, and I think he'll be a wonderful father figure for them both. Obviously, he's not perfect, but heck, neither am I. The issues between me and Jay were started up by my mother-in-law after I got drunk recently and ended up doing some stupid stuff. So when Jay had gone out drinking with his buddies, he does this once a week or less. He's not leaving us every night to go partying because I know what Reddit thinks. LOL. I got a video call from him where he seemed visibly upset. I asked him what the matter was and whether he wanted me to come pick him up, and he ignored all of that and straight up said, "OP, I think I might be A and B's dad." I was talking to my buddies here about where we went for spring break. I had hooked up with a girl who looked exactly like you on the exact same day. I had forgotten about it and I wouldn't even have remembered, but I was discussing A and B with my pals and I had to cut him off here because he was getting anxious. I realized this might be a pivotal moment in our relationship, so I told him to come back home and we'll talk about it tomorrow morning. The next morning, I explained to him that whether he was the father or not, I wouldn't mind it either way. And he has been amazing with A and B so far. Due to his conservative background and the idea that the man must provide, my husband was having a bit of a crisis about his lack of involvement in A and B's lives, if he was even the father. We talked about all the details that we remembered, and it does seem like we might have had a one-night stand all those years ago. And I always assumed that guy was the parent to A and B. I comforted and reassured him, and it was an issue that was almost resolved, in my opinion. But then mother-in-law got involved in the whole story. When she was told the story, by basically forcing Jay to spit it out, she was appalled at the apparent lack of integrity on Jay's part and immediately claimed that she could no longer live with us. A massive win for me, I felt. But she then said that it was important to get all our facts in order and have a paternity test before moving forward. I felt like this was fair enough, and we got down to business. During the 4 days in which we waited for the results to come back, my mother-in-law was absolutely insufferable to me and Jay. She acted like A and B were two martyrs, even though they were none the wiser, and constantly threatened to move in with Jay's brother in Orlando, saying he was a more settled person. I was pretty riled up by what I considered to be disrespect to my husband, but he just let it go. He's a lot more patient than me, I'll admit. When the results finally came in, it turned out A and B aren't Jay's kids. However, it's all but confirmed now that Jay and I did have a one-night stand all those years ago. I thought this could be a funny story to tell at parties, and Jay felt relieved that he hadn't been an absent father all these years. But then Kay's real plan began. I wouldn't even have known about this, but the thing is, I'd been taking classes to learn Jay's native language for the past couple of months and was going to surprise him with it. Because of that, I could make out what my mother-in-law said on call to one of her relatives, and it went like, Oh, this woman doesn't realize it, but I'm telling my boy about what a slut she probably was when she was younger. She couldn't even realize who her baby's daddy is. Soon enough, I'll say she's cheating on him and he'll believe me. And we can leave this godforsaken woman and her kids behind. I was so angry at that moment, I just felt like grabbing the phone from her and throwing it across the room. This bitch was saying all these things and didn't even have any problem smiling at me as I walked in front of her face. I knew just what I would do to get her back, though. During dinner that night, I began to slowly transition to J and K's native tongue. It was hilarious because they didn't even seem to notice for a bit. I must be good. And then Jay suddenly had a moment of ecstatic realization. The exact opposite happened to his mother, though. Her face dropped. And that's when I went off. I told my husband everything I had overheard, and I could tell by the look on his face that mother-in-law had been bad-mouthing me to him. I then chose the hill I would die on. Either mother-in-law leaves the house by tomorrow, or we get divorced. I then went to sleep in my room with the kids and waited until the morning. J and K were gone when I woke up, and from that moment on, my husband was dead to me. However, I got a phone call from him later saying he messed up and wants to make things right, even if it means going against his mother. My friends are divided on how I should respond to this, though. Some think I should give it a shot because he, as an individual, is a great person. But others think that I should just go ahead with the divorce and cut him out because he'll never be able to shake off Kay. Update 1. The divorce proceedings have started and things are bound to go pretty smoothly. However, Jay is amping up his efforts to win me back, and I'm starting to get confused about what to do. I heard from our mutual friends that he has sent his mother to Orlando and is going to go low contact with her. This alone feels like a step toward maturity. However, I don't really know whether I should reach out to him at this point. It feels like time is running out on a choice to make because the divorce needs to go through after a point. I saw Jay at a mediated sitting together and he seemed distraught. I do feel bad for him and there are still lingering feelings between us, but I don't know if I can ever recover from the stuff Kay said. Update 2. I got a call from my ex-mother-in-law, and that made me certain that I should divorce my husband. Even if he's a changed man, his mother still wants to hog his attention all to herself and isn't beyond being incredibly toxic to people to get her way. She called to tell me that I'm a witch who drove her son away from her and that I don't deserve to have him. I know that it's probably an open secret to his family right now that Jay is doing everything he can to win me back. And I'm sure that rubs Kay the wrong way. I blocked her number after the crazy rant she went on and thought that would be the end of it. But I later found out that she had called my place of work and harassed my boss for hiring me too. That was the last straw. And I ended up getting a restraining order against her that prevented her from contacting me in any way. Update 3. The divorce has gone through and I'm settled back into my life as a single mother. However, I did go out with Jay for a last dinner where we made amends. I explained to him as best I could that he was a wonderful person, but the literal danger I faced because of his mother was something that I was not able to stomach. The fact that he had matured and removed her from his life did come out of a way to fix things with me, but it will help him in his life regardless. Jay seemed to get where I was coming from, and we parted as friends. He is welcome to keep in touch with me, but a relationship is strictly off the table. After all of this, I've come to realize that I need to give myself more value, and I should have put my foot down with mother-in-law way before she started all these antics. But what's happened has happened, and I know I'm strong enough to keep moving on. NTA, but your mother-in-law sounds like a textbook narcissist. I was reading through your updates and I'm shocked that she would go ahead and call your boss. I think you're being kinder to Jay than I would be too. No contact all the way if I was you. NAH, except your mother-in-law. I mean, Jay was kind of the a-hole for not sticking up for you, but the way you put it, it does seem like he's matured a lot. I hope that you guys do find a healthy ground where you can remain friends because a relationship again is going to be the wrong move in my opinion. The reason I say this is because it seems like Jay has lingering feelings for you. So he may move in that direction even if it doesn't seem like that right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole? I, 28 female, and husband, 30 male, do not have kids. We both have decent paying jobs in real estate. That said, we love to travel and many times also pay and invite our families to go with us. My brother, 26 male, married and had my nephew, 4 male, with my middle school best friend, 28 female. Yes, he married my best friend, and we are still best friends. They had my nephew and years later divorced. To the point, my brother started dating his new girlfriend. We will call her Ashley. They've been together for around 9-ish months. They're not engaged or married. She has a son who's 5. We will call him John. I've only met John a handful of times. He's a nice kid, but I don't really know him. I only know Ashley on a first name basis in a way. We talk occasionally, but nothing in depth. I invited my ex, sister-in-law, and nephew to Disney this summer for 6 days. 2 days in Disney, 1 in Universal. The remaining days would be chill Orlando days. We are paying for them to go. I've always wanted to take my nephew to Disney since he was smaller. He loves Mickey. We didn't tell him in front of John or Ashley, but it made it back to Ashley that we were taking him. She confronts me at our family dinner on the side and tells me she's upset we're not including her child and that he should have been invited. She said he doesn't feel like he fits in his family and that is excluding him from Disney has made him cry all night. I was so shocked. We are easily paying $2,000 for my nephews and best friend to go. Tickets, airfare, lodging, and of course, some toys. I blew up. I told her that I didn't even know her or her kid. They have only been around for a few months and he's not my nephew. I told her I didn't like the entitled mentality and to make it a point, I would make sure to exclude her from all future family gatherings. She left crying. My brother and parents are all upset with me. That I'm excluding this child, isolated them. I told them if they'd like to pay for them, I don't mind them tagging along, but they all said, you have more means than us. They're not doing great financially, which is why I didn't ask in the beginning. She made a huge Facebook post and everyone is siding with her. Did I go too far? Should I have offered to include them? AITA? Update. It's been almost a week. I went no contact with her. My parents now side with me. My brother says he's trying to fix it on their end, but it's done. She called a couple of days later to apologize, but then mentioned that she told her son he'd get to go and wanted to see if I'd take him just this once since he's already been told. I just hung up. Honestly, I think she's crazy and super insecure. I'm sure she thought I'd changed my mind, but shit's now just unacceptable. She confronts me at a family dinner on the side and tells me she's upset we are not including her child and that he should have been invited. Ballsy move. She's not married to your brother, but still making demands? Wowza, LOL. That's entitlement on a new level. The only reason her son was crying over this is because she told him all about it. This is her fault. I hope your brother realizes what kind of a person she is in time. NTA, hope you and your nephew and best friend, ex-sister-in-law, have a really wonderful time. NTA, if she had come to you like a reasonable person and asked nicely, that would be a different situation. But coming at you, guns hot, making demands of what you should be doing from someone you barely know? Oh, hell no. She screwed herself out of the possibility of this trip and any others. I hope your brother wakes up and smells the bitchiness. Next story. For a little context, me and my twin, Mary, are 25. We grew up close, but over the years she took a different path and got lost in drugs and alcohol addiction, and we just became distant. I tried to help as much as I could, but learned someone who doesn't want help won't accept help. My parents have always favored her, and that's another reason our relationship isn't as strong. Over the last year, I'd say we began speaking again and aren't super close, but it's better. The last time we spoke was about 2 years ago when she revealed to my entire family that I was gay. It was at a dinner, and she got completely trashed and said it without thinking and made more comments voicing her negative opinions on the topic. My parents spoke and both cried like I ruined their lives, which is another story. But they've somewhat accepted that I won't change, which I can't say about my sister. I have been with my fiance, female 26, for about 4 years, and we're planning on getting married early spring. Although my sister has voiced her opinion on our relationship, she still wanted to support and come to our wedding. Recently, she and her boyfriend, male 35, are both invited on the account that she is respectful. I'm not having a traditional MOH wedding party. It's more just my close friends, male and female, supporting me and helping out, but nothing too strict. My sister didn't want to be involved, so I didn't involve her, but we both agreed for her to have a speech. We were sitting down drafting some ideas when she said, "Is it okay if I put some jokes in it?" I hesitated, but said, "Sure. Write them and I'll look them over." When I read what she wrote, I immediately told her no jokes. All she wrote was rude comments toward my fiance, and the majority of it was homophobic and saying shit like, "It's not a real wedding in God's eyes, so who cares?" I then told her explicitly to not comment on my relationship at all during the wedding. She argues that OFC, she's going to voice her opinion because she can't control honesty when she's drunk. I then say, "You're not drinking then." I told her if she will not be respectful, she doesn't have to go. If she wants to go to humiliate me and my fiance, I don't want her there. She then goes, "You can't expect me to be quiet. I mean, you're marrying a woman." The convo continued until I ultimately uninvited her. Now my parents are saying I'm being an a-hole, and they won't go either because they aren't going to support my actions if my sister isn't going to be included. They say they will keep an eye on her, but uninviting my twin sister to my wedding, they put it in quotes, is messed up and I should be ashamed. I want my parents there because I do want their support, even if they aren't 100%. They have shown effort in getting to know my fiance, but I don't trust my sister. And if I don't invite her, they said they won't go. So AITA for distrusting her and uninviting her? NTA, and honestly, go ahead and uninvite your parents too before they can act like it's a power move to refuse attendance themselves. If they're also in the boat that your marriage isn't a true union, then they don't deserve to participate in one of your best days either. Only those who actually care about you and actually want happiness for your relationship and your future should be there. It's clear that your parents aren't those people. It must be so incredibly hard to consider that and accept that. I'm so sorry. You do have a real relationship and a real wedding coming up. Just like your sister has a real drug addiction and is together with a man 10 years her senior, and somehow that's better in these, for lack of better words, freaks' eyes than you being in a good place in life and marrying a good person who looks after you. If your parents aren't 100%, then they are not 100%. If your parents think it's better to have a drug-addicted daughter together with a man 10 years her senior than it is to have a gay daughter building a solid and happy life for herself, then that is their loss, not yours. I guarantee you they will not stop your sister from making those jokes at your wedding, and they'll find a way to dismiss her behavior and make it your fault somehow. Just because they're biological family doesn't mean they should have the opportunity to scorn your happiness, especially on this major day in your life. NTA, she is being rude and disrespectful, and if your parents side with her, I'm sorry, but good riddance to bad rubbish. You have your true family around you, all of your friends that love you deeply and want to see you happy. Congratulations on your day. Hire security so she can't crash. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.